Hypixel Skyblock is pretty similar to every other MMO, meaning that this game technically doesn't have an ending. In the case of Skyblock, you could always say that a player doesn't have a specific item or maybe overflow in a collection, but there is one main metric people look at to judge a player's progression, and that's Skyblock levels. Skyblock levels were introduced in late September of 2022 and were in place to not only guide the player on how to fully complete Skyblock, but also to give you a nice cool little number next to your name. This update came out not too long after I got unbanned, and well, after a year of active playtime, I could finally say I finished Skyblock. Today's video is pretty simple. I want to go over a few things like where a majority of my playtime went, what my profile looks like after max XP, and what's to come for the future of my profile. Though, before going into this video, I do want to quickly ask you guys to subscribe to our channel. We're slowly closing in on 10,000 subscribers, and every sub really goes a long way. And with a pretty big series coming up, you might want to also subscribe to see what that's about. Anyway, enough yapping, let's get on to the video. What a good chunk of you might not even know is that this isn't my first profile. Around 2 years ago, I actually got wiped, and it really sucked as a progression standpoint. I lost thousands of hours of progression, including things like max skill average and max catacombs level, that really impacted me on this new profile. Nonetheless, I still ended up doing it, and I guess it's now easier to look at my playtime and see where all that time went. Simply typing out /playtime, we're able to see not only my hours, but clicking on it, a detailed breakdown of where all my hours went. Looking at the playtime, we could see that things like the gold mine and dark auction didn't really get any hours at all. This is because these islands don't really have any content relating to Skyblock XP, besides the Dark Auction I guess, as it does have the Seal of the Family. We have islands like the Deep Caverns, the Farming Islands, Kudra, and many other types that I only spent time there doing bestiary. For example, looking at the Jerry Island, I actually never came here for any fun gameplay like the event or anything. I only ended up fishing there, and all my time went to that. This also isn't the amount of time I spent total on Kudra, but I'll get into that in a second. Moving on, we have things like the Rift, which is pretty self-explanatory. This update didn't take as long as my playtime reflects, but I did spend some time preparing for blood badges for next update, and overall just messing around. Something I found pretty funny, and only realized when the update came out for the playtime, is that I've spent over 130 hours just in the dungeon hub alone. Similar to places like the gold mine, this doesn't really have anything for Skyblock level. The only content here would be the race, and this doesn't really give anything besides a talisman. Meaning that just waiting for parties for class average and catacombs levels in general really just wasted 100 hours of my time. Another place I have a good amount of playtime in is also the Dwarven Mines, which is kind of ironic because here I never really spent any time mining. Because of when I started this profile, any mining I did relatively just went straight into the Crystal Hollows, and most of my time spent on this island was either doing bestiary or more bestiary. The next two islands are both the End Island and the Park. To go in order, the End Island, I mostly just spent time there having fun, doing dragons and of course bestiary. And then the Park, with actually almost 200 hours, relatively just went to foraging as well as the wolf cave. Now how the hell I got 170 hours on this profile is a really good question, as both these grinds don't take that long, but definitely cool to look at nonetheless. As I said before when looking at my playtime, this Kudra stat doesn't really reflect my accurate time. See, when Kudra originally came out, the server ID wasn't under Kudra, but rather instance. This bug took months to fix and really separated my time of actually doing Kudra compared to when I was just doing it for bestiary. So to easily see it, for Kudra bestiary it only took me around 13 hours. But for actual Kudra I spent almost 200 hours. And all this time accumulated only about like a month or two of Kudra gameplay. Now the reason I did so much Kudra is kind of obvious, but I will get to that in a second. Moving on, we now have Crystal Hollows, which sits around 230 hours of playtime. This playtime again goes to a few things. First of all, it goes to the bestiary on this island, which is quite a pain in the ass to actually do, as well as gold mining. Gold mining is pretty simple. If you want to see more, we actually made a video about it, but the general idea is I spend a lot of hours here mining gold for my gold collection increase. Why, you may ask? Well, looking at the Golden Dragon perk, for each digit in your gold collection you gain an extra 10 strength and 2 magic find, which at the time when I was doing Kudra and dungeons was really important. Now we're moving on to the main islands where I spent most of my Skyblock playtime on. First of all, we'll see the Private Island and Hub. Now these islands pretty much have nothing to them Skyblock XP wise. The island has a few bestiaries, and the Hub as well has a few bestiaries and slayers, but the time I spent doesn't really add up. If you're able to connect the dots, this is a lot of AFK time. Most of the hub AFK time was fully AFK, but then the island playtime I did actually multitask a little and did social. Moving to the island with the third most playtime is dungeons. Unrelated to dungeon hubs, in the dungeon alone, I've around 800 hours, which is crazy. But I do have these hours for good reason, that's class average. Now I didn't do class average at the best time as not all the XP buffs were out for the classes, but I did do it at a pretty reasonable time as when you compare it to other people who might have over 1,000, I'd like to think I made pretty good time on my dungeon experience, as I did also spend a majority of my time playing with higher end people. The next island, which nearly has 900 hours of playtime, is the Crimson Isle. All this time was accumulated through many different tasks, whether of course I was doing bestiary or the hundreds of hours I spent trophy fishing. To even just doing Blaze Slayer, this island has a ton of content relating to Skyblock XP and I really enjoyed my time doing it. And finally, the one that I sadly had to spend most of my time on Skyblock in is the Garden. Hovering over the command, we could see I spent a shameful 1.1 thousand hours on the Garden, which now looking at it really makes me depressed, I won't lie. Now similar to the hub and private island, I do probably have close to like, I don't know, 300, 400 hours of AFK time on here. But still, even when you subtract that, there's around like 700 hours of active Garden gameplay that I've had to do. And let me tell you, the hundreds of hours you spend on Garden are not enjoyable. The 3 things you'll ever do on the Garden is A, talk to your visitors and claim them. Number 2, making farms which to some people take tens of hours to make. And finally, the one that takes the longest out of them all, actually farming. I could not begin explaining to you how miserable the time on my Garden has been, and how much I honestly regret doing this grind. This grind was not fun in any way, but was kinda needed to make this video. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it going over the playtime, so now we'll get on to what my profile fully looks like. I think the first thing you'll probably want to know is how much net worth I actually have. Now I'll quickly show a screenshot on screen, and I have around 97 billion coins according to the Sky Helper bot, but there are a lot of things on my profile that are kind of hidden to the API that they can't really add to my net worth. For example, looking at the right side of my screen, I have 3.1 million bits along with over 300k copper, which I would say roughly together is around 5 to 6 bill. Another thing on the Garden is my composter, which is sitting around 670k compost, or roughly around 2-ish billion. You could also take a few things into account, such as this tier 11 Inferno minion, which cost of probably 1 billion, along with just the amount of random crap I have on my island, like for example this double recons that hasn't seen the day of light in around 9 months. Or these dobs of like magic find, mana regen shards that kind of just sit here with no use at all for me yet, but do have insane value. So to give like a quick rough estimate, I would say around 125 to 130 bill would be my actual net worth, including things that I've currently have like lent out and just hidden that I might have forgotten about when recording. Next up, another little stat is looking at some of my overflows. Some skills like foraging, alchemy, I don't really have much. The major ones you might want to see, such as enchanting, only around 450 mil, which actually I'll quickly show the rankings, is not a lot. I have about 100 million overflow XP in fishing, just over 500 million farming XP overflow, along with 8.8 million runecrafting overflow, just almost leading me into the top 100. And finally, the one that I would say I'm most proud about is my over 1 billion combat XP overflow, ranking me around the 230th top player in combat XP. Another cool thing when you look at my boss collections, I have around 1700, almost 18,000 Kuja score, which is about 3.5k tier 5 kills. And the reason I went so overflow on this is simply for money. Like I mentioned, when I got wiped, I didn't really have much to go off of. So me and a few BK members went out of our way and did Kudra for the main reason of getting money, and it really did my profile justice, making me go up probably around 30 to 40 billion coins in net worth. Along with that, I did do a few other like passive money making methods like Blaze, which most of that money actually went to the stupid clover helmet I spent way too much on. That really just rots inside this backpack. What's sad is compared to my old profile, I don't really have any like cool bogged items or cool like admin items. For example, I'm not sure if I do have the screenshot for this, but I had an ancient elevator that sadly did get wiped. The only items that are kind of cool is in this backpack, such as this Enrager, and then a few of the Shen's auction items, again, like the Dirt Rod, Priceless the Fish that have my name on them. There are also a few things in my museum that are kind of cool, mostly in the special items category, like a few of the fishes that might have a few high placements. You'll also see something like my Airy Pet, which is an edition 7. And probably the best item I have would be this bingo card, which is the 4th created during the first Extreme Bingo. But yeah, besides that, my profile doesn't really have anything such like very cool or like kind of exotic, if you will. But I think it's finally time to get in the question. What is my next goal for this profile? And well, sadly, it's not much. My current goal that I'll be working on for the next like month or so would be a billion gold collection, for the same reason as I mentioned before for the Golden Dragon ability. But other than that, there's not much that I could really do for progression wise. We haven't seen any type of teasers for any update to kind of prepare us. I guess the one thing I could do is maybe foraging 60 just for the extra fortune, but I mean, I don't really need to do that. And probably the best of all is that my money can now go to stupid shit, rather than Skyblock XP, so I guess that's kinda cool. I will also quickly include the clip of me hitting max XP, which I actually did hit live on stream.
Okay.
I don't know if it updates. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Whoa.
Oh my god.
GG.
I'm so happy.
Yes.
Whoa.
Now it's time to mine
Good
gold.
job,
Get to work.
Candypat.
I don't even
Good
get
job.
the level up message. Wait, I think I could get the level up message. Wait, that works.
Did it work?
Trying. Oh.
20th to max.
Whoa. Showed. I'm really proud of the progression I've done on this profile, and honestly, I could have hit max XP a long time ago, but I may or may not have taken like a 3-month break just to grind out Hoplite. But other than that, there's not much to talk about this profile. As I did mention in the beginning of the video, we will be starting a new profile relatively soon, and if you are interested in that, I would recommend subscribing to our channel, as we will be uploading something about it very soon. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. See ya.